Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
Greetings, Bat Family. Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Please visit our website, holybatcast.com. It is your one-stop shop for all things Holy BatCast, but you can also find us all over the internet, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast and you will find us. If you are a fan of the show, would like to help support the show, we are also on Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/holybatcast, help keep the show rolling. And so we got to give a big thank you to our latest patron, Mr. Jordan Funk. Hey, Jordan, thank you so much. You're amazing. We love it. You rule. Huge thank you to Jordan and all of our patrons, because you guys really make it all worthwhile. And we know you don't have to do it, but you do. And I just can't say thank you enough. So again, that's patreon.com/holybatcast. We're a part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. So if you want to check out some of those shows, you can do that at rf4rm.com. I'm your host, Andy DiGenova. If you'd like to follow me, you can do that on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. And on this episode, we actually have a lot to talk about, which is crazy. We're going to talk about the latest little sneak peek mini trailer we got about Shazam. We're going to talk about the return of Young Justice with Young Justice Outsiders. We are going to review a couple more episodes of Batman the Animated Series. And we're going to wrap up, as we do, with the Wayne Manor Mailbox. And joining me, the return engagement after taking a couple episodes off, it is my partner in crime, the forager to my Brian. It's Jamie. Hey, Jamie.
You called me Forager. Now we're friends for life.
Yeah. I learned right before I hit record that he's your new favorite.
I'm really pleased with Forager. Yes. Quite
good.
So.
Well, welcome back. We missed you.
Well, thank you. I miss being on, but there's a lot of stuff going on in my life right now, so things are a little suspect.
Why is life so complicated, Jamie?
I don't know, because I haven't scratched off a winning lottery ticket to make this our full-time job yet. That's why.
Are you buying them? Because you just gave me just a little glimmer of hope.
Well, that's kind of the other problem. I need money to buy lottery tickets, and I have no money, so it's kind of.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
Well,
it's a struggle.
You know what they say: there can be no despair without hope.
This is true.
Some wise man said that once.
Smart guy.
Yeah. Well, I get it. Life gets complicated. Damn it. But fortunately, we have things like this nerdy podcast to distract us from the complications of life for just a little while. And it does it for us when we record it. And hopefully it does it for our fine listeners who take the time out of their busy lives to listen to us geek out about geeky things.
I like geeky things. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I like Batman.
I've never heard you say that, so okay. I don't believe you.
All right.
I think you're a liar, and I don't care for it.
I'll do my best to change your mind on that as we go along.
Great. I heard you liked Forager.
I do like Forager too, yeah. I'm talking about getting a Forager tattoo. I don't have a Batman tattoo, so I mean, I guess that's telling in some way, isn't it?
That is like fast commitment to jump to a tattoo.
Well, I don't ever like to think about anything too long. I just like to react emotionally to stuff and proceed as planned.
Would that be like love at first sight?
Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe it's because I could actually dress as Forager and get away with it, and I probably couldn't dress like Batman and get away with it.
Interesting. Well, I can't wait to see your Forager outfit for Halloween.
It'll be spectacular.
Yeah. Well, before we get into apparently what is going to become a Forager love fest with Young Justice Outsiders, we got a nice little treat this morning. We're recording this on Sunday morning, and literally like an hour ago, David Sandberg and Zachary Levi and Shazam, like the Shazam official Twitter, all dropped a new little sneak peek of Shazam, which is coming our way on April 5th. So we know there's a new trailer incoming. We had heard the 19th, and then I'd heard it got bumped a few days to maybe sometime next week, but they gave us a little something this morning, and it's about a minute long. So I feel like there is enough content in there that it's worth discussing.
I feel like it's the trailer for the trailer that's coming, certainly not very far behind this, but I'm okay with that.
It probably is, but at least it's not one of those like 5-second or 10-second trailer teases, it's a minute. Like this, this is like a long TV spot.
Yeah, I mean, this has got some meat to it, and as we discussed before we hit the record button here, I mean, it's basically a full minute, and there's no rehash of previous footage that I can spot anyway.
Not really, no. It is mostly new. So yeah, I guess tell me what you thought.
I'm loving everything I'm seeing here. I think I actually might like this as much or more than I like the full trailer that came before it.
Okay, cool. I mean, no, it's great. I completely agree with you. I love it too, and I think that we're definitely getting a little more scope now. Because in that first trailer, which I did love, by the way, you never see Shazam fly. And now we're getting some flying Shazam, which is super exciting, and it looks great. I mean, the way they kick this little 1-minute trailer off with him jumping off the roof and yelling Shazam and like transforming in midair and taking off, so cool.
I'm waiting for some parental watchdog group or some bored quote unquote fan with too much free time and angst on their hands to start saying, well, that looks cool and all, but that's kind of irresponsible for the kid to do that, because like what happens if he swallows a bug and he can't say the word before he goes splat on the ground or something. And I'm just going to be, these are actually the things that go through my head now, that somebody's going to be mad about this stuff. So I don't know. I ain't mad about it. I think it looks great. And, it's a story about a kid who is a superhero. And this is, to me, something that a kid would do. He's not going to think about that sort of crap. He's just going to go out there and do what he does to look cool.
It didn't even cross my mind. You know why? Because it's awesome.
Because you're sensible and you're not somebody that's looking to be mad about everything that you see. Not
usually. Yeah, no, it was awesome. Here's the thing. What I love is you're really seeing the, the two sides of this movie. It's a superhero action adventure movie, but it's still comedy. And so you're getting tastes of both, and I feel like the tone is right on the mark of what it should be, because the couple little gags in here legitimately made me laugh, and then the superhero stuff looks awesome too.
I fully agree with that. I laughed for a good solid 30 to 45 seconds on the "I'd like to buy some of your finest beer, please." I mean, just the way he said it, his posture, the delivery, that whole thing was hysterical. I absolutely love that.
Well, and I'm a big fan of like the deadpan reaction. I'm a fan of that in many comedies, but I like that they do it here with she just kind of points to where it is. And his reaction to that is even perfect, of how he's like, and I think that's why they got Zachary Levi, is because he has great comedic timing. And the movie hinges on that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing his turn in this part, because, that we've got the whole talking to the real estate agent thing at the end, which I got, I didn't quite laugh hysterically like I did about the beer thing, but, the whole thing about trying to find a lair that's like a castle, kind of on a mountain, maybe overlooking some water that's splashing up on some rocks. I mean, that whole thing, just him and that other kid that's in there with him, that all just, it worked really well for me. It's like, sometimes I know I'm the no jokes guy. Sometimes I get to the point where it's like, okay, get on with it. And I'm rolling my eyes and it's like, all right, come on, move along. This doesn't feel like that to me. This feels natural, I guess, for lack of something better to call it. Like it belongs here versus something they just put in to try and get a laugh, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing from that comedic element. And of course, we didn't get a lot of action beats in that first trailer, but we get just a couple of quick shots of it here, which I'm figuring once we get the next full trailer, more of that will be expanded upon. But I'm already seeing people left and right throw out the comparisons or nods or whatever you want to call it to the Man of Steel battle over Metropolis at the end.
Oh yeah, totally. The in the air battle between Shazam and Sylvana. Sylvana. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. The superheroic stuff looks great here. You get to see Mark Strong, Sylvana, start showing his powers. You get to see flying Shazam. All that stuff is looking really good too. And it's been said. I mean, David Sandberg himself said it, is that it's big. It's big meets a superhero movie, and the whole thing with him and his buddy trying to get a lair, and maybe they're not trying to get a lair. Maybe they're trying to find a lair. I don't know. But
I didn't consider that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was just something that crossed my mind. I was like, are they trying to buy one? Or are they trying to like track down Sylvana and maybe, this is the way they're doing it. But even so, that conversation with them, to me, is just so reminiscent of something from Big, where, Tom Hanks and his best friend, like, where they get the paycheck of $187 and like go buy a bunch of just worthless junk in one night. It's just it's very reminiscent of that in the best possible way.
Yeah, I haven't seen Big in like 30 years, so I can't really comment.
Well,
on that.
it's great. It's still great, but
I'll
but yeah,
take your
and
word for that.
that kid, who from It, who's playing Billy Batson's best friend in this, and his name I have to look it up, but he was one of my favorite actors in It, and so when he got this role, I was so excited, and just his interaction with Zachary Levi is just perfect. It's exactly what you want it to be. They feel like best buds.
Yeah. Like I said, everything about that, the comedy itself and the interaction, they're kind of going back and forth, and the other kid, he's like, yeah, that's what we want, and then you just kind of see like Shazam's hand come over, just kind of like give him that little light tap with the fist on the arm there. I mean, it's perfect. It's pitch perfect. It's exactly what you would expect and exactly what you would want in that circumstance. So yeah, I agree there.
Yeah. Excellent. And just the little, and then all the action beats are just little glimpses kind of in between these two comedic set pieces, but all really promising stuff. And I mean, it's looking great. I can't imagine not smiling during this thing, and I'm looking forward very soon to getting the extended version of it.
And we're really coming up on it here. I mean, as of recording right now, it's 74 days and some change, so.
Yeah. Coming right up.
Be here before we know it.
Super exciting. Can't wait for it. All right. Well, while we're waiting for it, the DC Universe app continues to give us stuff to watch, which is very nice of them. So we don't have to, just sit here waiting and counting down days to the every minute, because that would be insane.
Well, yeah, it probably is insane, but I'm going to keep doing that anyway.
But we mentioned on our year-end wrap-up, Young Justice, it had just dropped. I think it was it on New Year's or like the day after New Year's? It was right around New Year's, but I hadn't started it yet.
January 4th, I believe, was the day that it officially came out.
Okay. But I hadn't started it yet, and now I've started to play catch-up on Young Justice Outsiders, and I'm 5 episodes in. And so how many, are there 9 out yet?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
7, 8, and 9 just got released on Friday.
Okay. So I'm getting there, slowly catching up, but I love 3 episodes a week. That's pretty awesome. And then I love that we're getting like a full 26 episode season. I looked forward on the app to see how many we can look forward to. And I guess that explains why they're doing 3 episodes at a time, because if they did 1 a week for 26 weeks, it would just go on forever.
It'd be 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that, like, it is a full on season of 26 episodes. And I've gotten through the first 5. Are you current or?
I am. I watched the most current 3 this morning. Now, okay. I do have number one, I still love this DC Universe app. I mean, it's constantly, in my opinion, improving. I do still think they need more formats of outlet for it, such as, smart TVs themselves and, more things I can watch it on. I would like that because, again, at this point, I'm either watching it on my phone or my laptop, and I don't want to invest in Apple TV or any of that stuff with my money situation right now. So that's like the one gripe I still continuously levy against it. But the app itself is great, and I love it, and I'm more than satisfied to have paid the fee that I did to get this app, and I'll gladly do it again as long as it continues as is or better. My one gripe I do want to levy against it today is with Titans. Every Friday, I have an alarm set on my phone every Friday for that show. At 6 a.m. is what time that would drop, 6 a.m. Eastern time. Young Justice doesn't drop until 9 a.m., so I have to wait until like Saturday morning or Saturday night to watch them usually. I'm not keen on that. I'd rather they released them at 6 a.m. so I could watch them that day, so I don't have to worry about social media spoilers floating around out there. But, that's...
Well, number one, no reasonable person should be getting up on Friday at 6 a.m. to watch Young Justice.
Well,
That's on
I usually
you.
get up at like 4:30 or 5 anyway. I just have that on there as my reminder to watch the show.
That's insanity. And number two, the good thing is that like Titans, I told you I would wake up and see spoilers on Twitter. And it had only been released a couple hours and people were spoiling the shit out of it immediately. Titans, I haven't seen any of that. Or excuse me, Young Justice, I haven't seen any of that. So like
it's not
Titans, the concern is real. Because like I told you, I would see GIFs at 8 a.m. my time. And I was like, what the hell? Like, people, come on. And but for Young Justice, I haven't seen anything like that.
People do seem to be much more restrained about that sort of thing, but at the same time, it only takes one little thing to trip it up. Oh, speaking of potential spoilers or whatever else, for anybody out there following along with the thing that was brought up last week on social media, and I think maybe we even talked about it the last time I was on. I can't remember now. The first letter of the episode titles of the show and spelling out a certain special phrase. Somebody questioned that like they don't even have the episode titles dropped on the app yet, and there's no official sources that said what it is. As of the episode 7, 8, 9, and I think the episode titles for 10, 11, and 12 were released, it still lines up.
I didn't know it was ever questioned. I just figured that was a thing.
Well, it's, again, somebody in one of the Real Fans, I think it was the TV group for Real Fans, questioned it because they couldn't find anything that verified what the titles of the episodes were. And other than this secondhand information, I had not either. So I wondered if maybe it was a little bit premature coming up with that. But like I said, so far, into 12 episode titles, it still lines up.
Yeah, I mean, right now of the titles, is it spoilery to say what it is? I don't know.
I don't know if it is or not because
I mean, of all the ones that are already out there, I mean, it does spell out prepare.
Yeah.
So
episode 6 actually mentions what that thing spells out. So, I mean, for whatever that's worth.
Cool.
I know we're being really cryptic about it here, but I know some people were a little sensitive about finding that information. So I'm trying not to say it. Again, I don't even know if it's really spoilery anyway, but I think it's just kind of a cool, hey, check out what we did sort of thing.
Right. I don't think it's spoilery. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but
it's prepare. Okay. Just fast forward like 10 seconds if you don't want to hear it. Okay. So allegedly, the first letter of each one of the episodes of season 3 of Young Justice, or the Outsider season of Young Justice, spells out prepare the anti-life equation.
Okay. Which shouldn't be a shock because in the opening they have Apocalypse and they set up Darkseid at the end of season 2. So why is that a big deal?
I don't know. Some people are sensitive about stuff and some people aren't, man. I don't know what to say.
No, tell me, explain it. Okay, yeah, I'm like, I didn't think it was spoilery.
Like I say, I don't think it's necessarily a spoiler so much as it is just kind of a cool homage or nod or whatever you want to call it to what it is that they're doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And like I say, episode 6, Vandal Savage himself actually says something about the anti-life equation. So it's
spoilers. I haven't gotten to episode 6 yet, Jamie. How dare you?
You'll be all right. He says it.
I should have gotten up at 6 a.m. on Friday because now you've ruined it.
Wait, it's episode 7. I'm sorry. 7. Because it was one of the ones I just watched this morning.
It's all good. I haven't gotten to that one yet either.
It's good. You'll like it. Trust me.
I mean, since we buried the lead, I'm liking all of it. So, as someone who has loved this show, I adored the first 2 seasons and told everyone who would listen that they need to watch Young Justice because it's one of the best DC animated shows, and I put it up there with Batman the Animated Series and with Justice League. I think it is just as good as those. It makes me extremely happy that, enough people found the show over the years and watched it on Netflix or I mean, mostly I feel like Netflix was its saving grace, that it got a third season, and now being able to jump into the third season, they didn't miss a beat. Like, it totally just feels like the show continued. And much like between season 1 and 2, they really changed things up as far as the lineup of the characters and how much time had passed. And each season has a very distinct personality. They did the same thing here, but it still very much feels like the show that I fell in love with when Young Justice premiered. So as a fan of the show, I'm loving this new season.
The level of quality and the expanding and building of world that they're doing in this series from beginning to current is remarkable, because there is, there's generally an overarching story that comes together at the end of a season, but then each individual episode can kind of stand on its own too. So in other words, you can essentially watch one episode and not really be lost to it for the most part. I mean, in some cases you may be a little off kilter or whatever. But I wish more television programs could do this, where they have the central major story that they want to tell, but then they have the subplots and other things that go on with characters that are leading in each individual episode that goes into that finale. Am I making any sense, or am I just rambling?
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Anyway,
as far as having like an overarching story throughout the entire season, but also being able, each episode having its own little stories.
Right. I think it's as good as it gets with the way that they're doing that in every season, and the current season is no exception to that. And I'm very pleased with what they're doing writing wise. I love the character work that this show does. To me, that's king of what this series has done from the start, is presented some of my honestly favorite versions of the characters. Like, I don't like Lobo. I love Lobo and Young Justice.
Huh. No, I agree with you. And I think that the designs of these characters are never better than in Young Justice. I think I've said that before when we've discussed the show. I just think the characters look as good as they've ever looked when they're in this show. And that is not just the main characters, but even when we meet the Justice League, Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, they all look as good as they've ever looked in this show. So the design work is terrific. The animation's amazing. The animation is so strong in this show. And then you're right, the way the characters are written is awesome. And I also love that this is a show that's not afraid to play in the entire DC sandbox. And so that's the one thing, is I think if you're a casual DC fan, you're going to spend a lot of time in this show being like, wait, who's that? Because this show's not afraid to dig deep and bring in a lot of different characters from a lot of different places. They do a good job of introducing you to them, but you might learn something because there's a lot of the DC universe in this show, even if it is Young Justice and it's focusing on a core group of heroes. The entire DC universe is present, which is something I've always loved about this show. Yeah,
definitely. And I think, I don't remember for sure. I think it was you that told me that Calderon was created for this show. Yes?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So now they've taken some other characters, which my two current favorite characters on the show actually are Halo and Forager. I thought maybe they were other creations of this show. And it turns out that those two, Forager is part of Kirby's original Fourth World concepts and designs and writing. So he was part of that whole New Gods story arc going on way back in the day. And then Halo also is not a new character. However, she's another one of those that have been drastically altered from original concept to current. So originally she was like blonde hair, blue-eyed white girl. Now she's like, I guess maybe like a Arab character or Muslim, Middle Eastern, something along those lines, which personally I got no problem with. But I find it fascinating that everybody, or not everybody, a lot of people raised problems about how Black Canary got changed from comics to the movies and how they're doing it, but nobody said anything about her. But I mean, whatever. Anyway, I think she's fantastic. I love her character.
It's because most fans don't pay attention to comics or animation.
I know. The people, again, this is just one of those things. When somebody wants to be mad,
they only care if it's in a movie.
Yeah, it's silly. Anyway, they're playing with characters that, I'm not saying I have the most expansive knowledge of the DC Comics universe, far from it, but if they can pull a character that got by me that I didn't even know existed and thought was created for the show, you talk about making some pretty deep pulls. Because, I mean, I'd say I'm above average on that stuff, even if I'm not the most knowledgeable. So it's cool to me that they're taking these forgotten, D-list obscure characters and they're putting them out in the forefront of the show, and they're making them relevant and cool. And again, these are my two favorite characters going in this season so far. So, I mean, for them to be able to do something like that, to me, is a real high praise for what they've got going on.
Well, I don't care for Halo because Jamie, Halo should be blonde-haired and blue eyes. So this is
there. Now I've heard
not my Halo. Not my Halo.
I feel better. Now the world feels normal that somebody's made that complaint.
Good. I'm pissed, and I am boycotting this show and everything DC from this day forward because my superheroes need to be white.
Well, if you really believe that, I got a wall over on the Mexico border I'd like to sell you now.
Well, just send me the GoFundMe link, and I'm all in. Anyway, funny you should mention that.
I just want to put it out there right now. That entire thing was completely satirical, just because I know somebody out there may not understand that sense of humor.
If anyone's listened to the show, they know who I am, and I hope that they understand.
I just want to put that out there.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right.
Again,
you're probably
the theme
right.
of today is sometimes people just want to be mad, and I don't want to hear about it.
Tongue firmly in cheek, friends. Anyway, it's funny that you mentioned everything that you just mentioned, because when they announced Young Justice Outsiders, and we got this, sort of like the team picture, and it is, I think, the main photo or the main picture on the app. It's of Nightwing and Halo and Forager and Brion. I don't know if he has a superhero name yet.
Is that the Prince from
the Prince?
Markovia?
Yeah,
he does. And it's not shocking. I mean, everybody's already talked about it. So.
Oh, what is it? I haven't gotten
Geoforce.
Oh, he's Geoforce?
Yeah.
So he does not look anything like Geoforce that I knew.
There's actually a really great moment
young.
in episode 7 or 8. I don't remember which one it was. It's one of the ones I watched this morning. They all kind of run together to me somehow now. But they're letting these newer members, Forager and Halo and all of these, pick their names. And the name that Brion picks, you're going to laugh out loud. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Great. So yeah, I know Geoforce, but I did not know that that's who he was supposed to be. So
I didn't know Geoforce was Tara's brother.
I didn't know that either. Is that something else you learned coming up?
No, I mean, that's something that was kind of from the beginning. I mean, you didn't realize that Tara Markov was.
Oh God! Oh no, I did not put that together. But now it all makes sense because they talked about it. Okay, good. Anyway,
well, there's a fantastic moment at the episode of, I believe it's episode number 6. You're going to want to rewind like 2 or 3 times, and I'm trying like hell not to spoil it for you. And I know you said you don't really care about spoilers or aren't sensitive to the show, but trust me when I tell you those closing moments of that 6th episode. Wow.
Well, do they bring back the Tara thing? Because up until now they just kept saying your sister, and I just
they go.
I didn't think twice about it.
It comes about because they're out looking for her because she was abducted in this whole. The whole overarching premise of this season so far has been the trafficking of metahumans,
right? And
she was apparently a victim of that.
Gotcha. So yes, they've mentioned his sister, but I never connected the dots to go, oh, who's his sister? What's his last name? I just didn't do that. So interesting. But anyway, what was my original point was that we saw this lineup of Geoforce and Forager and Halo and I think Metamorpho's in there, and I think that Katana's in there. And obviously I know Metamorpho and Katana, but the other 3 I did not recognize. And I was like, God, am I a bad fan? Should I know who these 3 are? Or are they made up for the show? I had no idea. And now that I'm watching the show, and they're very carefully introducing these characters, and I'm sure they will get to the others as we go. It's all starting to come together and make sense. And I do love that they're able to do that. And I didn't know that Halo and Forager weren't created for the show. So thank you for doing the research for me, because I was not familiar with either of them either. Halo sounds kind of familiar, but I don't know why. and I wouldn't be able to pick her out of a lineup, so I have no idea what she was supposed to be. And Forager totally felt like he was made up for this show. So,
well, that's actually a Jay Yaws thing, because I mentioned on Twitter how much I love Forager and Halo, and Jay was like, "Forager, you mean this guy?" And he put like a comic panel up of him. I'm like, "Oh, apparently he already exists." And I went looking around, and sure enough, there he was. And I'm like, "Well, I wonder if Halo was too." So that's kind of what triggered the whole thing, because of course Jay knows all this stuff. I do not.
Yeah.
I don't know how Jay has room in his brain for all the comic knowledge he has, but it's impressive. But anyway, again, Forager is out of the fourth world stuff. So
better versed fans than I.
Right, and
thank God for him.
I'm really hoping now, since the Ava DuVernay has been kind of teasing a little bit with this New God stuff that's going out there, which I think is great and I love. But I'm really hoping Forager makes it into that movie now. Not holding my breath, but I'm hoping.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hold my breath either, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. But yeah, I just met him on season 5, and so I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's that guy. And when I saw the images of him prior to this, I thought he was like a turtle, and now I realize he's more of a big bug.
Yeah.
But I also like the ideas, and I do think that like the first 3 episodes were very much setting the stage for the new season. So I feel like those 3 should be watched together, because they are pretty much 3 parts of one story, as far as what's going on with the Justice League and why Nightwing is kind of doing his own thing off the grid with Black Lightning and Tigress / Artemis, whatever you want to call. So there's a lot of setup of like, here's the new status quo of what's changed in the world between season 2 and season 3, and that involves the Justice League. So it makes a lot of sense why it is Young Justice outsiders, because the Justice League is getting embroiled in all this political stuff where they can no longer, which we've seen now in quite a few different pieces of superhero media, of once the government and the superheroes get in bed together, all of a sudden the superheroes cannot operate the way they should or need to. Mm-hmm. And that causes a rift in the Justice League. And then that causes Dick Grayson to recruit his old team and kind of go rogue to do what needs to be done around this metahuman trafficking. So I think that the setup is great, which really informs what's going to become Outsiders.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I apologize for striking out on this, because I don't know if I've said it on previous episodes, and I should have said it already here. I also very much love Black Lightning and his character's portrayal in this show. Those early episodes where he has the incident with the creature, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great that he's kind of moved up to being one of the main characters, at least in what I've been watching, up until episode 5.
He's still heavily involved, yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting how the thing has kind of shifted. And the one that I just watched is the one where they go to Forager's planet and they bring all the young heroes. And so they bring Impulse and Static Shock and Wonder Girl. They bring all the young heroes. And so you get a little highlight of some of the ones you hadn't seen much throughout the season yet. So the show has always been really good about balancing and bringing in characters as they want. I really want to know what Bruce is up to. So in the beginning, Batman kind of goes off to do something, and at least as of where I am, we've not revisited that.
You're
cool.
within 3 to 4 episodes of finding out more about that.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, and that's the other thing about this show is there's always a lot of plates spinning at once. There's always a lot going on in it. So this is not one of those like play on your phone and half watch. You've got to watch this show. And I think that that's something I've always loved about it too, is that it never insults your intelligence. It just assumes you're going to keep up.
Am I the only one that's kind of getting chuckles of the closing credits animation in these two?
I mean, it's interesting. I don't.
Some, like the one that I watched. I watched the most recent 3 this morning. I think it was episode 9, the closing credits thing of that. I was laughing the entire time.
Why?
You'll have to see it to understand.
I guess I'll have to see it, because right now it's just been
I mean, you basically, for the most part, you either get Wolf sleeping or the mother box motorcycle thing, whatever it's called, sleeping or in sleep mode.
Right.
Or,
yeah.
That's kind of where it's been at. But like, there's been a couple where it's been something a little bit more chuckly. And this most recent one, I was laughing the entire, for whatever it runs, 45 seconds or whatever those credits run, laughing the entire time.
Oh, all right. Well, something to look forward to. I do need to catch up, apparently, but I'm enjoying the ride.
I'm honestly surprised you're not current on it. As much as I know you to love this show, and I'm shocked you just didn't stay up all night last night to make sure you got current for it.
Well, you also know that my life is very.
Oh, that's true. The chaos reigns.
There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, of course.
So that's why. And last night we had a belated holiday party to go to. Hence why I couldn't stay up late watching Young Justice.
I see. Just sneak off in the corner at the party and watch it on your phone or something.
Right? He's being so antisocial. Sorry, Young Justice. Got to do it.
Hey, if people know you, they'll understand.
That is true. So, but the good thing is, I'm okay with enjoying the ride. I don't need to, watch all 3 episodes every week. I like letting them build up. Again, I'm not really worried about spoilers. I'm not really seeing spoilers, so it's fine.
Well, there's not a tremendous amount to spoil so far. I mean, there's been a couple things that are just moments, but even if you heard about those, it's not going to take away from those moments. Just like the end of episode 6 or whatever that was that I was talking about just a minute ago. I mean, there was certainly some conversation being had around about that, so you might even know some of the details of what happened. But again, it won't take away from how special it was or how cool it was.
Cool. Well, I mean, and you mentioned, I think it was on our year-end wrap-up, we talked a little bit about Young Justice, and you said something about, it's not R-rated, but it also certainly isn't holding back. And I definitely saw that in the first, I don't know, 1 or 2 episodes. It might have been the very first episode, actually, with as far as the violence goes, because there's a pretty gnarly shooting.
The royal family thing is
the royal family. Mm-hmm. So so it was pretty violent and pretty bloody, and you're right, that part I went, oh wow, that's weird. But since then, that's really been it, at least that I've noticed. There's not language. There's not language that I've seen.
No, they really don't do that. There's the slightest bit of innuendo, which I don't have a big issue with that, because it's subtle enough that it easily goes over the head of younger viewers, but adults catch on to it pretty easy. So okay. I'm fine with that sort of thing, because it shows a little bit of cleverness in the writing. It's not being obscene for the sake of being obscene, but there is another moment or two of violence that happens that, frankly, I still find it kind of shocking, because I'm kind of used to this being, and I don't want to discredit this show in any way or sound like I'm demeaning it. I'm kind of used to this being more of a kid's show, so it's still an adjustment for me to see these things happening on a screen with it.
Right. No, exactly. And for the most part, it's consistent. But yes, if it was still on Cartoon Network, they wouldn't have the blood.
Right.
So... but yeah, that took me aback a little. Otherwise, it's been pretty good. So I still feel like it's pretty appropriate for most ages, I would think.
Yeah, I got no problem letting my kids watch this, because it's, violence to me is kind of cartoonish in a lot of movies anyway, and being in a cartoon makes it all the more so. I've said right along, people have asked me, why do you have a problem with this and not this? And, in the case of violence with my kids, it's extremely easy for me to explain to my children that it's fake, that it's not real. When somebody uses language or exposes body parts or something like that, that becomes much more difficult to explain to a kid that that's not real. So.
I was watching a Futurama last night, because of course I was. And
that's why you're not current on Young Justice, because you're spending all your time watching Futurama for the 15th time. And you know what? I ain't even mad about it, because that show's great.
It's what I watch as I go to bed. But they said, it was something about there was this, it was essentially like a battle royale thing. And at a certain point, one of their clothes gets ripped off, and they're like, oh my God, we are so sorry that we have to interrupt this senseless violence with nudity.
Yeah. Fun fact,
Anyway.
did you know that my wife and I love that show so much that we only call Red Lobster Red Primate now?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Good.
We're both
Approved.
huge fans.
I love it.
It's like the one beautiful thing my wife won't destroy is that show. But anyway.
Thank goodness. There was one thing as I was watching this is, as I said, there's tons of characters and you might not always know who you're watching. I just watched a whole episode and Tobias Whale makes an appearance. Your favorite.
He does?
Yeah. They didn't call him by name, but it was him.
Are you
He
talking
was
about
the
the guy
one-
with the armored truck thing?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that was
I
Tobias
think that's
Whale.
Brick or something like that is what they call
Oh,
him.
crap.
Because
Damn it.
I originally thought that was Tobias too, and then they're like, well, something about Brick, and I'm like, Brick.
Oh.
So
Okay, never mind. Don't listen to me. I thought it was. Because we saw, I swear we'd seen Tobias Whale in previous episodes, and he looked like that. But you're right, this one was red. And Tobias is usually white. Huh. Anyway, point is, the whole armored truck thing, I was like, wait, who the hell are these other guys? Like, I couldn't remember who I was watching, because it was obviously Nightwing, and it was obviously Roy. I saw Nightwing and Roy, but the other two guys, I was like, I don't know who they are.
I'm so glad you're saying this because I was watching it and thinking I really should have rewatched season 1 and 2 because it's been several years since I've watched them and I don't know who the hell I'm looking at here. So apparently it's not just me.
Okay, good. Well, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is for people listening, if they're like, wait, I have the same problem. Please tell me who they are. And they were both Roy clones because remember, like, Roy was getting cloned? Mm-hmm. So one of the Roy clones was Guardian. And then one of the Roy clones, I guess, took over as Red Arrow while Roy became Arsenal. And so he's the one who's like living with Artemis.
You talk about people say that the Bat family is too big and convoluted. I submit to you the Arrow family is twice as bad.
I mean, if you've got a bunch of Roys running around.
We've got Artemis and we've got like 14 Roys and we've got, Arrowette or whatever the hell her name is. I can't even remember what her name is now, but yeah, there's plenty of them, and their names are just too similar. But anyway, not important.
Well, yeah, because the whole time I was like, I think I remember there being clones, and I think I remember the Guardian was one of them, and I'm trying to remember, because yes, I didn't rewatch seasons 1 and 2 before this.
I remember the one that has like the cannon arm thing.
That's Roy.
Yeah, he's the one I remember.
That's Arsenal. Yeah, that's Roy. But then like Guardian was a Roy clone, and he was in the back, and then the one who's like living with Artemis with the beard is also a Roy clone, and he's Will. But at the very end of the episode, he like suited up as Red Arrow.
Okay.
So anyway, maybe that's helpful, or maybe I just confused everyone even worse. I don't know.
Might have. I don't know. And anyway, what I was getting ready to say was that armored car episode was great.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The other thing I want to call out, because it's the most important, is I want to be able to buy Dick Grayson's jacket. So if they could make that into a real jacket that I could purchase, that would be great. Did you even notice it?
I did not. No.
Oh, it's the coolest.
Is it like a members only jacket or?
It's like a black leather jacket, but with like the light blue highlights, very Nightwingy. And it's so awesome. So they need to make it for real. And I will purchase it and wear it wherever I go.
Middle of summer in the hot LA sun, Andy's walking around at 115 degrees with this black leather jacket on because he loves it.
It's worth it. I would do it. But yeah, so I mean, I'm right now, at least for me, the show's kind of stepped away from the Justice League. We're just kind of following Dick and Artemis and their new recruits, if you will. So Brion and Halo especially, and then Forager just joined them as to where I am. So I'm invested and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the ride so far. Again, I think Halo and Forager are, for me anyway, and again, almost all of these characters are top notch. But there's plenty of characters that are in this series that I feel are at least my personal favorite versions of them. But Halo and Forager, man, they're so good. I love them both so much, and right now they're both kind of at that level where I feel like they're more simple characters, but I'm enjoying it so much because you're kind of going along for the ride and getting to know them. And for me, that's, and again, I'm not trying to say that I have like so much knowledge that things get old to me, but meeting new characters, at least new characters to me, and being able to develop a fondness for them from, you know, grassroots level, that's a really cool thing, especially when they're well done characters like this show has going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And that's the good thing, though, is like, yes, you're spending time with these new characters, but the show doesn't forget about the old characters either. So, although I will say, I'm ready for some more Calder, because he was just showed up in the pilot, or I guess episode 1. It's not the pilot, it's their 3rd season. But Calder showed up once, and I'm still waiting for him to come back. Because Calder was my favorite from the previous seasons, and we're not getting a lot of Calder.
Just being a couple of episodes ahead of you, I can tell you he does show back up, but don't expect anything grand.
Yeah, just another appearance.
But it's this long form. He's part of the long form storytelling of this season.
Right.
Definitely, without question. Him and Batman and the Justice League in general, they're part of the long form, whereas the more individualized focus seems to be on Grayson, Halo, Forager. There was a really good episode. You really need to get current. There's a really good sequence with. Oh Christ! I'm not even going to say it. I'm just going to let you figure it out when you see it. Okay,
great. I will also say, like, for the beginning of the season, like, I appreciated the stealth ninja suits, but I'm glad that they've all, a couple episodes later, reverted to their classic looks, because I love that Nightwing outfit.
I meant to ask you how you like the Winter Soldier treatment of them.
I don't mind it, especially because it made a lot of sense in the story, because they were under the radar and they were trying to, not command any attention. But I'd have been disappointed if that was what they were the whole season.
Right.
Unfortunately, it was just for that.
Do you know what I'm finding out and listening to some other podcasts now?
What?
You and I are apparently the only ones that don't like his shield outfit in Winter Soldier.
Oh, I get that feeling.
And I don't hate it. I'm with you. I think it needs some red in it. That's all.
I don't hate it either, but it's just, come on. Red, white, and blue, Captain America. So, at the beginning, I was a little concerned, but it's okay. They took care of me.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I've been super happy with it so far. Young Justice Outsiders, it is awesome. It is worth, just like Titans, it is worth the money for the DC Universe app. I'm getting no money from them to say that. I just am saying it as a fan. I've been super happy with it. And this show is always one of the best shows. And if this is a way to watch it to continue, and all 3 seasons are on there. So if you still have been meaning to catch up on Young Justice, it is all there and super convenient for you to do so. It's totally worth it. It's one of the best DC shows ever, and it just happens to be animated, but it's awesome.
As a newer fan to it that got beat on by you and Roman and several other people continuously years before the 3rd season was ever even thought of as a possibility, I can say I really wish I would have been in on it as quick as you guys were, because it's that good. It really is.
It is awesome. So there you go. Young Justice Outsiders. I love it. Can't wait. I can't wait to be current, Jamie. I will.
Watch that 6th episode when we get off of here, and then shoot me a text and let me know your reaction to that closing shot.
Okay.
Or closing
Sounds
sequence,
good.
or whatever you want to call it.
Cool. Will do. Well, that is the latest in the DC animated world, but we still have other episodes to talk about of one of the older shows in the DC animated world, because we're going to continue our journey through Batman the Animated Series. So when I had Sean Gerber on 2 episodes ago, we did 2 episodes of Batman the Animated Series because there was not a lot of news, and I was like, great, let's do 2 episodes. Let's move forward. And at the end of that conversation, I was like, oh man, the next one up is a good one. The next one up is Legends of the Dark Knight. It's one of the classics, and I could not review that one without Jamie. There's just no way. And then I go in to watch it to prepare for this episode. And there's an episode on, like, I watched this show on iTunes because I purchased the whole series on iTunes a couple years ago. So that's how I watch it. And I go in from the last episode that me and Sean talked about, which was Old Wounds. And I go, okay, next one up, Legends of the Dark Knight. Except it wasn't Legends of the Dark Knight. It was a show or an episode called The Demon Within. And I got really confused. I was like, what the hell? What is this episode? Where did this come from? And so I messaged you, Jamie, and I'm like, wait, there's another one between it? And this is where the whole like production order versus air date order gets us all screwed up. Because with season 4, they've been pretty consistent, and then every once in a while they throw us a curveball. So The Demon Within, as far as air date order, should have come between Mean Seasons and Over the Edge. But for production order, came after Old Wounds. And so we had to do it because, like, otherwise we would have a hole in the episodes that we reviewed, and it would just be wrong, and I would lose sleep because of it, and we don't want that. So my point is this. I talked to Jamie, and we're going to do 2. We're going to do The Demon Within, so that way we're current, and then we are going to talk Legends of the Dark Knight. So we watched 2 episodes of Batman the Animated Series for this week. So if you were only preparing for 1 and you only watched Legends of the Dark Knight, go back and watch The Demon Within, because we're doing 2. So, Jamie, thanks for being flexible and watching 2 this week.
Well, thank you for having me do this, because this made for about an hour and 45 minutes, maybe close to 2 hours of really solid animation I got to watch this morning, given the 3 episodes of Young Justice Outsiders and these 2 episodes here. So, spoilers, I kind of like these 2.
Well, that's good. It's exciting. And fortunately, we had the time to do it. So, we'll do The Demon Within. So, again, I can't believe this one just somehow got lost in the shuffle.
I got to tell you, this is not one of the episodes I had any familiarity with. Legends of the Dark Knight, I am mildly aware of because I've seen parts of it before today. But Demon Within, had no idea it even existed. It's not one of those that I hear a lot of people talk about even, so.
Yeah, this is one, I mean, like most episodes in season 4, I'm only, like, aside from the couple really famous ones, all of them I just have the most vaguest of memories of, because I'm just not as familiar with season 4 as I am the first 3 seasons when it was on Fox. So this is one where I'm like, once I started watching, I was like, oh yeah, they did do this, didn't they? Oh, I kind of remember that. But yeah, it was not one that would ever spring to mind. I had completely forgotten. So anyway, The Demon Within. This is an episode with a very special guest. Etrigan the Demon and Jason Blood join Batman and Robin for an adventure in here. So Bruce Wayne and Tim Drake are at this auction, and Jason Blood is bidding with this, like, it's like a magical firebrand from Morgan Le Fay. And Jason Blood's trying to buy it, and Clarion the Witch Boy is there trying to buy it, and Bruce ends up buying it for Jason Blood. And we find out Jason Blood is indeed Etrigan the Demon. So Clarion's able to steal the firebrand using his little cat friend. And because of that, he's able to take control of Etrigan. And Jason Blood starts rapidly aging. And so it's up to Batman, especially with a little help from Robin, but mostly Batman, to go take on Clarion and Etrigan to get the firebrand back, to bring Jason and Etrigan back and become one and the same. So The Demon Within, I think when I saw the title, I had the same knee-jerk reaction that you did, Jamie, as I was like, oh, Demon, it must be a Ra's al Ghul episode.
That's what I had assumed.
But no, it's actually the other demon, Etrigan the Demon.
The actual demon, not the head of.
Right. So, yeah, Jamie, what did you think of this one?
Well, I mean, when you told me it was Etrigan, my first reaction, I think, was, ugh. Because I find, now look, Etrigan is a character that I think in concept is really cool, but I don't really get into his stories very much. Like I read the 12-issue maxi series that he had out last year called Hell on Earth or whatever it was. And it was okay, but what I find with this particular character is writers, be it for animated or comics or whatever, they become, to me, distractedly obsessed with the rhyming that he uses.
Yeah.
And when you told me that he really wasn't doing that in this episode, that was such a sigh of relief to me. And then watching the episode and seeing that As I recall, in the entire episode, he only did it the one time. And to me, that's kind of how it should be, because otherwise they become obsessed with being clever about what they're doing to make the rhymes, and less careful about being clever to make the character likable or given good motivations or anything like that. So Etrigan's a character I have a weird relationship with, because it's a character looks wise and everything else I should love, but I just don't usually, because of this problem that I'm talking about here. So this episode, to me, avoiding that or just canceling it out and saying we're not going to worry about this, made this so much more enjoyable for me. I really liked how Etrigan was done here. Clarion is a character I can kind of take or leave, but I'm kind of warming up to him as time goes on, and I think this was a pretty good episode for him. If anything, I'd say Etrigan and Clarion probably had more character moments than Batman did in this one, which that's fine once in a while, I guess. So, Drake had some pretty good involvement here, taking with Blood after he separated with Etrigan. I think there's just really cool moments in here. The thing that made me laugh the hardest was the tree pimp hand that Batman gave Clarion. I think that was just hysterical. I was laughing about that quite a bit. I don't even know if that was meant to be funny, but it was to me. And the one thing I wanted to make sure I called out about this episode is I think the score in this is amazing.
Interesting. I didn't even notice, but I mean, the score tends to always be good.
I mean, the score is always good, but I mean, like, somehow this one really stood out, especially in probably the first third, probably before they went to that first commercial break cut. And it was really good after that too, but it just felt like really grand, really compelling. I just really liked what was being done with that score there.
Excellent. I agree with you about Etrigan, and I honestly, when he shows up in the comics and the writers get all highfalutin with all the rhyming, I just start skipping his word bubbles.
Oh, and what's especially annoying is not only when they do that, but they do it in like the old English letter set type of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me even crazier. But anyway, go on.
No, so I agree with you. So when I actually thought you were an Etrigan fan, and so I was like, oh, you're gonna like this one, and you're like, and you're like, oh, I just get annoyed with all the rhyming, and I was like, oh, I do too.
If
I still like the character.
Stories were like this one, I would be a better Etrigan fan.
I know, like but I've always thought he was a cool character, and I love that they brought him into Batman's world here. And again, I don't have a huge memory of this, but what's crazy is this is one of the first Batman the Animated Series episodes where they really acknowledge magic. Because even the Zatanna episode, her magic wasn't real, quote unquote real. So I feel like this one is where they really started going, oh yeah, sure, the rest of the DC universe does exist, even in the Batman show, and yeah, there is magic. So I think this one's really unique in that way. And yeah, I swear that when I was younger and Etrigan would show up, he didn't always rhyme, and I feel like it's more of a recent thing that all the writers, they almost take it as a challenge of like, oh, I can do this. So I didn't find him nearly as annoying before as I do now. And in this one, yes, as I was watching it, I was like, oh, he's not rhyming. He just, aside from the little transformation rhyme that he always does, which is whatever.
Gone, the form of man, and
there it
come
is.
the
Rise the
demon
demon
Etrigan.
Etrigan. Yes, that's yeah. So he does that, but then he just talks normal-ish, and it's fine. But yeah, I think this one's a really cool episode. I always liked it when they would do these guest stars, and in Batman the Animated Series they did it much less, especially as far as other superheroes go. So this is pretty cool to see it like this. I'm a bigger fan of Etrigan than I am Clarion, but it was still really fun to see that magic happen in Gotham and to see how Batman and Robin have to deal with it. I would have preferred that Etrigan didn't get separated from Jason Blood. I think I would have much rather seen a Batman Etrigan team up than a Batman versus Etrigan, if you will.
I get that, yeah.
But no, it's still like a really cool and a really fun episode. And you're right, to watch Batman take on Clarion, and as you said, when he bitch slaps him, it's pretty awesome.
I don't know why.
Because that's what everybody wants to do to Clarion the Witch.
Absolutely, Clarion is like the evil. I'm using air quotes here. Evil version of Damien.
Eviler.
Okay, that'll work. Yeah, we'll go with that. But I find in the case with Clarion, much like I do with Damien, if the writer's paying really careful attention to make character moments and not just make them the obnoxious little shits that they usually portray them to be, and they make them real characters, they can be pretty good. I mean, I guess you can say that about anything, but I mean, good writing will overcome a lot of stuff. So, I've read some stuff with Damien that's made me really become a fan of Damien, whereas I couldn't stand him a couple of years ago. And Clarion, I'm starting to come around to, obviously there's not a Clarion material out there, of course, but
Right.
I'm finding much that same thing. If a writer cares enough about the character to do something other than just make them be obnoxious and gives them some measure of substance somewhere, they can be pretty good.
Yeah. The other thing, as Jason Blood is talking to Bruce Wayne, like Bruce buys him that brand and they're talking about it. I was like, wait, I know that voice. I know that. And I was like, oh, it's Billy Zane. So yeah, Billy Zane voices Jason Blood / Etrigan.
I missed that.
Yeah. It's a very distinctive voice, or at least I find it to be.
Yeah, he usually is. That's why I'm kind of surprised I missed it.
I could just hear him saying, Rose is displeased.
Every time I hear Billy Zane, all I can think is, come on out, time to play.
Is that Demon Knight?
It is.
Oh, okay. I go to Titanic, you go to Demon Knight.
I do.
All right.
He is so good in Demon Knight, dude. So good.
But yeah, so that was a cool guest star. And yeah, they managed to get, and the other thing is I'd never seen Clarion's cat transform into like a werecat.
I was waiting
That
for
was new to
Batman to
me.
make a comment about Selena and there, like some kind of a quip or something, but never happened.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
Yeah,
it not happening. It just, I'm not saying missed opportunity or anything, but it was weird. But I guess that's just another way to incorporate a menace in this particular episode.
Right. So yeah, it's a fun episode. I really like it. Again, I like the slight expansion of the DC universe using Batman the Animated Series, and we're gonna get more of that in a couple episodes too. But yeah, it's a good one. I like it. Where would you put this as far as letter grade?
I think I'm probably in the B+ territory with this one. I think it was very enjoyable. I thought the character moments were strong enough. I don't really have a lot of complaints. And again, that music in this one really stood out to me. So yeah, B+.
Nice. Yeah, I can get down with that. B+ sounds good. So The Demon Within, we got to it. I do wonder if anyone who was following along was like, hey, you guys forgot one. They didn't email us, so they didn't notice either. All right, moving forward to the next episode, the one that I thought was next is one of the classic episodes, I would say. And it's Legends of the Dark Knight. So this one, you got 3 kids wandering through Gotham. There's news of Batman versus an arsonist out there in Gotham, and they all start telling stories about, oh yeah, I heard about Batman. My uncle's a security guard, and he ran into Batman and Robin once, and they were really funny. And you get flashbacked into the sequence that is all animated in the 50s Dick Sprang style of Batman and Robin and Joker. And so you get like a little mini adventure of Batman and Robin in that style. You come back to the present, they continue telling stories, and the young girl, who is one of the friends, who looks a lot like Carrie Kelly, she goes, no, that's not how Batman is. Batman's way older. And then she tells her story, and her story is a short little vignette, all of the Dark Knight Returns. And then we come back to the present again, and then they end up actually getting cornered by Firefly in this theater, and they have to be saved by Batman, so they actually get to see Batman as he quote-unquote really is, at least in the animated series. So we essentially get like 3 mini adventures of Batman. We get one that's 50s style, we get one that's Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns style, and then we get animated series style. So this is just such a great tribute episode of the different iterations of the character all in one. And this is one that I distinctly remember seeing when it came out and going, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I freaking love this. So, spoilers, I still freaking love it. It's great. But this is one I'm like, I can't not do this one with you because this was like our first time seeing The Dark Knight Returns brought to life in animation.
And
so,
I had no idea this was ever done until right around the time that the Dark Knight Returns animated movie came out.
Really?
Yes. I don't remember, somebody shared it in maybe one of the Real Fans groups or something, but it was the Dark Knight Returns sequence of this. And I watched it and I'm like, I had no idea where it came from, because it didn't say that this is where it came from. It just said something about Dark Knight Returns. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to watch something that says that. And of course, my jaw is, I'm still looking for it because it fell off so hard and bounced away watching that sequence and how gloriously amazing it was. I just loved that sequence, but I'd never seen what came before or what came after. Because like the sequence that I watched here literally starts with the girl saying to them, well, that's not how Batman is. The Batman's much older. And by the way, Robin's a girl. And then it goes into the Miller style animation. And, it cuts off after the fight in the mud pit at the dump.
Yeah. So you'd only seen that sequence. You had not seen the rest of the episode?
That is correct.
Interesting. All right. Well, now that you've seen the whole thing, your thoughts?
I really love that earlier sequence too, with the 50 style Batman, and I love that Joker design. I don't know what it is about that Joker design, but I think it's just fantastic. It's not even necessarily the one I'd say I grew up with as far as like the Joker image I have in my mind. I look at that style of Joker and it just pleases me. I don't know any other way to put it. And the fact they got Lenny from Lenny and Squiggy to voice the Joker there was pretty cool. I think he did a really good job with the voice there.
Oh, he's great. He's great. Yeah, Michael McKean does Joker in the 50s version, and then Michael Ironside does Batman in the Dark Knight Returns.
And I'm ashamed of myself I didn't pick up on that watching it today, because I'm like, I know this voice. I know this. It's not Conroy, but I know who this voice is, and I can't place it. And then I saw it in the credits. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And I love that the kid who tells the story of the 50s Batman, he looks like 50s Robin, with the two little curls in his hair that come down on his forehead.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, and then the kid who tells the Dark Knight Returns story, she looks like Carrie Kelly.
Yeah, in fact, in the credits, her name is actually Carrie. So
yeah, that would make sense. And then the third kid doesn't look like anyone that I could think of, but like he doesn't tell a story. So the other two, look like someone they each look like the Robin from their stories.
I kind of get where they're going with the Firefly thing and the arson thing, and they're trying to make it a real story to put these kids in actual peril or something like that. But I got to be honest with you, that was the weak part of this episode for me. I mean, the two descriptive flashback, whatever you want to call them, sequences, I thought were magnificent. But then coming back into, quote, reality with it, I wasn't on board with it nearly as much as I wish I would have been, because so much of that other parts of the episode were great. For me, and I know you and I have that philosophical difference about, meaningless stuff happening in an episode with no real consequences. But personally, I would have rather had a third segment in another era, like maybe the O'Neil Adams 70s Batman or something like that, to cap that thing off versus this whole Firefly Batman thing that they went through. And
no, that I actually agree with. In this case, I totally agree with you. I would have rather gotten a third style story than like the finale that's within quote unquote reality of the animated series. Because we've seen plenty of the animated series. That's what the whole show is. So I would have liked to see, I would have thought like Super Friends era, but there are options. Yeah, there are options in there as they could have done another version. They could have done like the 39 version, Like
and that's almost what some of that Joker felt like, because if you remember from reading the early Joker stories that we talked about in the Batman Chronicles that we did last year, whenever it was, maybe that was a couple years ago. God, I can't even remember now. Anyway, the whole thing with Joker announcing himself over the radio to what his plans were and everything, that kind of felt like a throwback to that in that opening sequence there.
For sure. So yeah, I agree with you. I actually, seeing these styles of Batman animated, especially back then in the 90s, it had been like 1998, when we had never seen The Dark Knight Returns animated that way, and not really seen the 50s Batman animated, not to this extent. is just such a treat, and it's what makes this episode so special. So you're right, like the finale, that's a pretty standard Batman the Animated Series fight, is a little bit of a letdown because you're like, yeah, I see this every week. The other two things I never get to see, so it makes it special. So I agree, but it is still cool to get the three very distinct styles of the character all in this. And then you also, I mean, we've got to acknowledge that they take a little bit of a dig at Joel Schumacher in this.
I missed that.
How could you miss it?
I don't know.
So in between the 50 story and the Dark Knight Returns story, they're walking and there is another little
is that
kid.
The Joel kid that?
Yes.
It's fabulous and all that stuff. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
There is an effeminate little boy playing with a boa. And he was like, Batman, I love Batman. The rubber armor, the muscles, and that car. I hear that car drives up walls. And they're like, shut up, Joel.
I didn't realize that was a jab at him until you pointed it out.
And right above the kid, there is a sign, and it says Shoemaker.
Completely missed that.
Yeah. So I have mixed feelings because I think it's hilarious that even in 1998, they were like, oh, Joel Schumacher's Batman movies, Jesus. And they had to take a dig at it. I think that's hilarious. But the way they portray him feels a little passive-aggressive homophobic, and it bothers me a little bit.
I definitely did catch that because I thought to myself, I want to give it the different time pass, but at the same time, I don't know. That's kind of walking a line there.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Even though I didn't
not
plainly catch the Schumacher reference, I'm definitely with you on that wavelength there, that maybe that might have been the wrong choice.
Right. So, I like throwing shade at those movies because, obviously, but at the same time, like the fact that they went like with the gay joke, I was like, ugh. But I mean, it was 20 years ago. I was a little more prevalent then, but anyway. Because then he says something about the fire was fabulous, and he like flips his hair.
So I didn't know Joel Schumacher was gay. I had no idea until you told me.
Oh, he's gayer than Christmas.
I've never seen interviews with him or anything else. I couldn't even pick the guy out of a lineup, honestly. So
he started as a hairdresser or a costume designer. Like that was his start in the business. Yeah, that was his start in the business.
So yeah, I mean that's probably why some of that stuff is not easily caught by me, because I don't know. I mean, I obviously know quite a bit of his work, but I don't really know him as a person. I don't know his voice. I don't know his face. I don't know.
Oh, dude, here's the thing about Joel Schumacher. I hate his Batman movies. I love him as a person. He is the most entertaining person to listen to. So, like, what have you never watched the documentaries on the Batman anthology series? Uh-uh. Oh, dude. Like, they're as good as the movies. I think it's called, oh God, what the hell was it called? Shadow of the Bat, maybe? And they did an hour-long documentary for Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. And they're great. And Joel Schumacher is so fun to listen to because it was, he's 20 years removed and he's old. He doesn't have to filter himself anymore. He's good. And so he's so honest, and just to hear him tell the stories of making those movies, I mean, there's a little revisionist history in there going on, but at the same time, like, he's also pretty honest about things, and he's so fun to listen to. I swear to God, like, watch those documentaries. I mean, watch them all, because hearing Tim Burton talk about Batman and Batman Returns is fascinating, and then to hear Joel Schumacher talk about Forever and Batman and Robin, also fascinating.
Well, Schumacher directed Lost Boys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so he'll forever
Falling
get a
Down.
pass for that.
Yeah.
That to me more than makes up for the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin things, because I love that movie. Love it.
No, I know. I'm the same way. And here's the thing: is he's a good filmmaker, and he was hired to do a job, and he says that in the documentary. He goes, "I was hired to do a job. I was hired to make a kid-friendly movie that they can make toys out of," and that's what he did. He did the job he was hired to do. So I think that he had a good Batman movie in him, but that was not the assignment he was given.
Dare I say, hashtag release the Schumacher cut? No, wrong day? All right.
Yeah. So, But then he also, to his credit, he takes the blame. At the end of the documentary, he goes, you know what? If you didn't like the movie, it's on me. I'm the director. I made the choices. I'm sorry. So he literally apologizes for the movie.
Fascinating.
He apologized for Batman and Robin, not for Batman Forever. I'm still waiting for my apology for Batman Forever. So anyway, that was a whole tangent, but the point is, it was a funny nod, and I think that was why I learned about this episode way back in 1998. My brother-in-law Ray, who I had on the show a couple years ago, his big DC passion was around this, the Batman and Superman and Justice League animated series. Like, that's where most of his DC love is focused. And so I remember he was watching this show more regularly than I was when the fourth season came out. And he's like, oh my God, you have to watch this episode. They do a whole thing with Joel Schumacher. And I was like, what? And so like, I remember watching it at him in my sister's apartment, and we thought that was hysterical. And then I was like, oh my God, and they did a 50s sequence, and they did an 80s sequence. Oh my God, this is the coolest episode ever. And so this is one of those episodes from the New Adventures of Batman that has risen above the rest and is now considered a bona fide classic.
Fair enough.
And to see that sequence for Dark Knight Returns, I mean, that is
every
damn
single word of dialogue in there is copied and pasted right out of that book. In fact, the only thing that is not true to the book is the fact that the mud pit fight in the book actually takes place after the mutant leader is captured, and it's essentially like the rematch with Batman later on in I think it's the second or third book? Anyway, not important. So anyway, the sequence of events there happening doesn't quite line up, but like the dialogue and everything that happens in them is like as close to perfect as perfect could get. Like watching that when I did, and again, this was probably either right as or right after the animated movie itself came out for Dark Knight Returns. And I thought to myself, if they can make this anything like what is portrayed in this video clip, I'll be content. Because it's just so, I mean, the animation style was, I dare say, is even closer to Miller's style than what the animated movie produced. Just great, just utterly fantastic. The mutant leader looks great, sounds great. Everything about it is perfect. I mean, just close to perfect as it's going to get.
Well, yeah, and they even, I mean, and for, it's what? I mean, it's got to be like what, 7 minutes, 8 minutes? Like, it's not long.
If that.
They get in so many like iconic shots, you know, like when Carrie Kelly Robin jumps up and like she's in the exact pose from the cover of one of those books.
Oh yeah, with the slingshot. Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, him
like,
breaking through the wall and disarming the guy. Of course, they didn't quite follow through with that exactly the way they did in the book either. But again, you know, enough that you know really what you're seeing and how much care and love and respect is being paid to it and how it was done.
Well, yeah, and again, it was the I believe you moment.
Yes.
But they switched it because I think they were just as confused by what happens in the book as we are. And then to go back to the 50s thing, like I think Michael McKean makes for a great Joker. The whole like them being tied up on the giant piano is like so evocative of what was going on in the comics back then. And the fact that the whole sequence ends with Batman and Robin shaking hands, and it is like right from the opening of the 60s show. Mm-hmm. Just so much cool stuff.
And I feel like again, McKean's Joker is fantastic. I loved his performance and that voice that he did there. But I feel like somewhere, and I can't place where, I've heard Joker with a voice like that. I don't know if maybe Brave and the Bold did him like that, or
it's very similar to how Brave and the Bold Joker was. Okay, because he looks like that too. And speaking of, I actually thought of that. Like we talked about how here you get 50s version, you get Frank Miller version, and then you get animated series version. Brave and the Bold did something similar, but they got even weirder with it. But I think the middle section was like. It was like Super Friends / Scooby-Doo version, but they also did like a anime version, and then there was something else. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, like Brave and the Bold had their own episode like this where they did multiple versions of Batman and Robin. And one of them was the Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, I vaguely recall what you're talking about. It's like I can't quite place it, but you're explaining it and it sounds familiar enough. So
yeah, it was one of the Dark Might, or excuse me, the Batmite. Yeah, it was one of the Batmite episodes.
That was
and
probably
you know what it was?
the episode where he was changing Batman around, like he was doing like the finger snap thing. Is like, no to this, no to that, and then he shows the Dark Knight Returns Batman. He's like, oh, too psychotic, and he snaps and changes him to something else.
Yeah, well, there were multiple episodes with Batmite. That was one, and that's amazing. I think that is called Legends of the Dark Might, I think. That one is awesome. But then there was another one that was literally just 3 sequences. And you know what it was? I just remembered. One was like the Mad Magazine parody of Batman and Robin. One was an anime version of Batman and Robin. And the other was the Hanna-Barbera Batman and Robin. And it was awesome. So it was kind of the spiritual sequel to this episode of Batman the Animated Series.
Right on.
So one of these days we'll get to that. But if you guys liked this one and went, oh, I want more, go check out the Brave and the Bold episode. I can't remember which one it is, but that entire series is also on the DC Universe app. So for everyone in the United States, that's great. If you live overseas, I'm really sorry. Hopefully you own the show in another way.
If not, Andy can send you VHSs up.
If not, I'll just keep mailing VHSs. Anyway, Legends of the Dark Knight, this episode of Batman the Animated Series, it's great. They also do give an acknowledgement of Bill Finger, Dick Sprang, and Frank Miller, which is pretty awesome.
Indeed.
So yeah.
You notice Bob Kane's name wasn't on there, though.
Well, his name's always in the end credits, so they figured they didn't have to do it again.
Good point.
So yeah, Jamie, closing thoughts on this one in a letter grade.
Very enjoyable episode. It's really nostalgic, but in less than a button-pushing way than just a really enjoyable way. I thought it was well done on the voices, well done on the performances. Loved the animation dearly. For me, this is a solid A, and I really want to give it an A+ because the 50s and the Dark Knight Return Batman sequences were so good. But that last part just left me hanging enough. I just can't tack that plus onto the end of it. So it's a solid A for me. All right.
Yeah, I love this episode. I think it is one of the standouts of this final season of the show. And I love that they did it. Like, just to, again, see these different styles in animation was so cool and really fun, and just paying so much homage to the different versions of the character, and how there were still moments of those that informed the current version of the character, because they even say that, at the end, the kids are like, see, I told you, it's just like this, still pulling from the other versions. So I'll give it an A+ anyway, even though, I agree with you, the animated series sequence is the weakest sequence, but everything else is so strong in this. I love it. It's great. I'm going with A+.
All right.
Cool. So Legends of the Dark Knight, we're moving forward. The next episode, I kind of acknowledged earlier, it's where they're bringing in more of the DC Universe. The next one is Girls' Night Out. So
that sounds familiar to me. It feels like it's one I should have seen.
It's pretty classic. It's a good one.
It's probably one my daughters watch a lot, because my daughters have a tendency of gravitating toward the one with the female characters, surprising nobody.
Right. And there's a lot of female characters in Girls' Night Out, as there should be. So there you go. If you're following along, check out Girls' Night Out, unless I go to watch it and then there's some other random episode thrown in there for some reason. But yeah, moving forward, and we're only like 4 or 5 episodes before we finish up this show.
Crazy.
So we are coming to the end, and thanks for those of you who are following along with us. Also, thanks to all of you who reach out to us. We love hearing from you guys, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap up this episode, as we always do, by cracking open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Derek.
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, this message here comes from Mark Bickford. It says, hey, Andy, Jamie, Brendan, the entire Holy BatCast family, Happy New Year. I have a few thoughts on Aquaman and Titans that I wanted to share. Aquaman, I loved it. I did note a few things that I haven't heard mentioned. First, just before the final battle with Orm, we got to see a few seconds of Aquaman actually riding a seahorse. Not a sea dragon, but the classic seahorse. Second, the Kingdom of the Fishermen, I haven't seen the M word used much at all, but I'm going to use it. They're mermaids. Yes, mermen. I wonder if the princess's name was really Lori Lemaris. I also wonder if the Kingdom of the Brine is where SpongeBob's boss comes from. Finally, there was just something about the end of the fancy credits where I see a film by James Wan, and then the Aquaman logo comes rising up out of the water. It felt like Wan was saying to all the naysayers, yeah, I effing did it. I made a effing Aquaman movie in your face. It just felt awesome. I'm not a huge Aquaman fan in general. Very much looking forward to the sequel, and as others have noted, Cheetah, Savannah, and Black Manta are 3 pretty decent members of the Legion of Doom. Just need to get that Flash movie made so we can get Grodd and one of the other rogues. As for Titans, I was watching Dallas the night JR got shot, so the cliffhanger ending didn't bother me. In fact, I was bothered more by the fact that they spent the last episode giving us another dream story, which they just did in Asylum. The fact that apparently Trigon made this one a choose-your-own-adventure story for Dick doesn't change that it's thematically a rerun of an episode 4 weeks prior. Speaking of Asylum, I still don't know how we're supposed to get past Dick giving that burn-it-all-down order like Doc Baker destroying a barn full of rats in Little House on the Prairie. What an interesting reference.
Nobody under 35 caught that, by the way.
I mean, I know the show, but I don't even get the Doc Baker thing. Maybe the Spectre's going to show up, decide his actions were just, and absolve him of guilt, and will be expected to go with it. On top of that, I hope you don't hear anything more depressing than this week. The DC Universe calendar holds true. By the time we get season 2 of Titans, people are going to be talking about the Iowa caucuses. Finally, here's a Gotham question. How would you like to see it end? Me, I'd love for the final scene to be something very much like, I want you to tell your friends about me scene from Batman 89, with Batman jumping off the roof and vanishing so that the last words on the show are David Mazouz saying, I'm Batman. If Jamie is on the show this week, I know he doesn't like Gotham, so here's a bonus question. If Al Davis had left you the Raiders, what would you want them to make their permanent home? Oakland, Los Angeles, or Vegas, and why? Those are your choices. You don't get to move them to the Midwest. Thanks for a great show. Happy New Year. Here's looking forward to Doom Patrol and Shazam, Mark. Mark, thank you for the message. Woo, there's a lot in there. Jamie, you go ahead. You can respond. Aquaman thoughts, Titans thoughts, and then
Aquaman is great. Titans is great. I agree kind of with what he said about the comparison between Asylum and the final episode. That's a pretty good point. Al Davis left me the Raiders. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd keep him in Oakland, but Oakland didn't want to give us what we needed to build a stadium, so Vegas did. I feel sorry for the fans in the city of Oakland. They deserve better, but the fact of the matter is the local politicians are the reason that it's not happening. So wherever they go, they're still the Raiders. That's how I see it. But seriously, if you gave me the choice, I'd move them here because it would make it just much easier on me.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I agree overall about Aquaman, and yeah, I guess we didn't mention that Aquaman indeed does ride the seahorse in the movie, and that was amazing, and I freaking love that. Titans, I mean, I told you what I felt, and I completely agree. They did just do that in Asylum, and it all was just a big dream. And I don't mind a cliffhanger. But even the cliffhanger they gave us in that episode is barely a cliffhanger. That was like just the end of an episode. It's not even a good season finale cliffhanger.
And I think that's really where the problems that we have with it lie is, I mean, I hate cliffhangers, but I hate them for the right reasons because they're doing their job and they're making me want more. Like right. You're going to spend the next however many months waiting for the next season to start going, oh gosh, I really wish I need to know. I got to find out. I mean, that tension is there. There really wasn't any tension left with me at the end of this episode. And although I did seem to enjoy the episode more than you and some other people did, I can't disagree with the fact that I do think it was a poor choice to make that the finale episode of this season.
Right. And then as for Gotham, I like your idea. I mean, what I want is I want the final episode to be flash forward 10 years and to get check in on all the characters in their fully formed DC Comics selves. So checking in on the Riddler and the Penguin and the Scarecrow and Poison Ivy as they are fully formed, and maybe even just to see Batman from the shadows taking them all out, and then end the episode with a rooftop conversation between Batman and Gordon. Gordon's now got the mustache and the pipe and the trench coat, and Batman is Batman, and they have that final conversation, and you know that, oh, now it is the Batman watching over Gotham that we've all known it would eventually get to. That's how I would end it.
See, if I got a choice there, and I know I'm not a fan of the show, I'm not watching the show or anything else, but if I had to pick the world's most perfect ending for that show, kind of do what you're talking about, have all the villains that he's dealt with or contended with in Arkham, and have them break out, and have Gordon fire up the bat signal for the first time, and him come to the rooftop, and he says something, I obviously make it much more in depth than this, but Gordon saying, we've got a problem that I don't know we can handle on our own, and Batman saying, don't worry, I've got this, and he jumps off and does like a Batman pose in midair and roll final credits.
Are you going to watch the series finale just
Probably
just
not,
for the heck of it?
But I mean, if it's something like that, I probably will, but I'm not planning on it. No.
All right, interesting.
I just think that would be a cool ending. I mean, if you're going to have all of those villains built up, and the fact that I guess they've been developing him step by step as Batman through this entire time, give him that payoff. God damn it! I mean, Smallville, you at least got to see Superman fight Darkseid in that costume for 15 seconds at the end, sort of, maybe.
Kinda.
You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying.
Yes.
It deserves, whether I care for the show or not, it deserves some sort of a payoff like that for the fans that have stuck with it for 5 years.
Right. No, I agree. I don't know if David Mazouz can. I like him a lot, but I just don't know if he could fill out the suit. Like, I have a hard time picturing them putting him in the suit and letting him do that final scene as Batman. I mean, he's earned it. He's played Bruce for 5 years, so I feel like it shouldn't be another actor, but at the same time, I just can't picture it because he's still really young and skinny. So I have a hard time seeing him in the cowl without it looking kind of silly. So we shall see. All right, next message here is from Carrie Vanderberg. It says, hey, Andy, Jamie. It was great hearing you talk with Sean a couple weeks ago. It says, I hope you're doing well. I freaking love Aquaman, and I'm excited for its success. I can't say I've been a diehard Aquaman fan. I've been aware of him since Super Friends and basically liked him. I never made fun of him, but I also never stood up for him either when he was made fun of. That said, I don't have much familiarity with the character and his world and have not read almost anything in his comics. That'll change soon as I'm going to order the Jeff Johns omnibus. What do you think is likely to happen in the sequel, or what would you most like to see? I'm assuming Black Manta will be the main villain, which will be awesome. I'd also like to see Calder introduced, as he was a favorite of mine from Young Justice. Wasn't he Black Manta's son? So I don't know how they would tie him in. Also, I remember Young Justice explaining that Atlanteans practice some form of magic. Would that be an element that you could see introduced in the sequel? For your 200th episode, I'd love it if you brought back Richard Citrone. Bring him back no matter what, but I thought it would be cool for a 200th episode. Keep up the great work, guys. I hope your 2019 is off to a great start. All the best, Carrie Vanderberg. Carrie, thanks for the message. I mean, we agree. We love Aquaman. Jamie, what do you want to see in the sequel?
I think we mentioned it before, but just to kind of recap, basically what I want is Manta to just be wreaking havoc everywhere and maybe not even specifically targeting, or at least not making it known that he's specifically targeting Thomas Curry and Atlanta, but have him wreaking havoc all over the place and Aquaman having to get Orm and team up to try and stop him. And then eventually Aquaman kills Thomas in Atlanta, and I don't want that to happen, mind you, but I just think it would be great character motivations. And eventually Orm kind of stabbing Arthur in the back and saying, I'm the Ocean Master bitch, and riding off on his own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would not kill Thomas Atlanta because I don't like it. But yes, Black Manta, I think, is back for revenge. I think he goes and gets his son, who is Calder. And Calder is helping him along the way. And at the same time, it's a couple years in the future, and Arthur has taken his place and is more comfortable in Atlantis, and he's taken on Garth as a protege. And so then it's Arthur and Garth versus Black Manta and Calder. Somehow that all goes wrong, and in the end, Calder sees the error of his ways and ends up flipping on his dad.
So they're kind of doing the square dance thing. So it's Manta and Calder against Arthur and
Garth.
Oh, Garth. I'd do it with Orm, and then have him do the square dance thing where Orm goes back to bad and Calder goes to being good. So,
well, that could work too.
I don't know. This is why they don't pay me to write him, because I couldn't do it if I had to.
Anyway, thanks for the suggestion for bringing Richard back. Richard and I have chatted about it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it will happen. It's just a matter of figuring out the best time to do it.
Richard doesn't want to talk to me because he's a Steelers fan and I'm a Raiders fan. And, well, we all know what happened when they played this year.
I don't.
Raiders beat them.
Oh, yay, Raiders. Woo.
That's like the only accomplishment the Raiders had this year that was worth talking about. But, yeah.
Go Raiders. Okay. Next message here is from Kyle Reffner. It says, hey guys, excuse me as I add my voice to the legion of fans expressing their Aqua love to the world. I thought the movie was phenomenal. I've seen it 3 times. My biggest issue with Aquaman is actually a continuity error left over from Justice League. I get all worked up when I think about it. Perhaps you can clear it up for me. In Justice League, when we first meet Mara, her and Arthur have a little conversation that gets quickly wrapped up when Arthur says, there's something I'm going to need from you. I always assumed he was referring to the trident. However, in Aquaman, Arthur has had the trident since he was a teenager. So what is it he needed from Mara? Was it his JL armor? If so, why didn't his armor in Justice League match literally anyone else's in Aquaman? Is there in-continuity explanation for this and somehow I just missed it? This is the burning question that has plagued me since December. Hopefully someone can provide an answer. Sorry for the longer email. Take care, guys. Kyle. P.S. The 200th episode should be the second Richard Citrone interview. Just saying. Kyle, thank you for the message. Good question. Jamie, what do you think?
I mean, it's been a while, like a month since I've seen the movie, so I could be a little hazy on this. But, I mean, you could probably make the case for the fact that Volko took the trident back down to Atlantis at some point. Like Arthur didn't have the thing in his closet. So, I mean.
Right. Yeah, I mean, in the movie, yeah, you assume it's the trident and the armor. But I think it works either way. Like if he already had the trident, which but in the BVS footage, he has the trident. So he did already have the trident. So I think he just got the armor. So I don't think that's a big deal. I need something from you. He comes back with a new suit. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to fight intergalactic, interdimensional demons with jeans and no shirt, right? And we know that Jason Momoa does not own a shirt, so he would have had to get it from somewhere else. True.
So yeah, I think that's fine. I don't see why that's a problem. All right, next message. What bothers me more is that conversation where Arthur feels bitter towards his mom, and then in Aquaman, it's like, no, he knows what happened to his mom. So that's the continuity thing that bugs me a little bit more than what did Mara get for him. But oh well.
Well, I mean, in that case, you could make the point that maybe he had the conversation with Mara about what really happened. Possibly.
Except in Aquaman, Volko tells him when he's like a young adult, when he's like 20.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, next message here is from Eric Carter. It says, hey, Andy, Jamie, possibly Brendan. Thank you for providing excellent Bat content. I've been listening for a little while, and I finally made up my mind I had to become a patron because I truly believe the show is worth supporting. I apologize in advance for the long message. This has been weighing on me, and I wanted to get your collective input. The Dark Knight Rises is not my favorite Batman movie, but it is close. I have a huge attachment to the film as I found it a fitting end to the trilogy that renewed my love for Batman. Recently, however, I read an article that Christian Bale cannot and has not watched this film since the premiere because of the tragedy in Aurora. This breaks my heart. I can't imagine having a piece of my life tainted by something like this as Bale has. I wanted to get your thoughts on the incident and if it had any impact on the film for you or if it's damaged its legacy in your opinion. I'm sorry for the heavy topic, but I felt the need to share with like-minded Bat fans. Thank you for your time and keep up the awesome work, Eric Carter. Eric, thank you for the message and thank you for becoming a patron. That is really appreciated. I hadn't heard that about Christian Bale. Jamie, had you?
I have not, no.
So, I mean, I agree with Eric. I mean, that is a shame to have that film tainted in that way. Personally, I've been able to separate the two. I think that the movie is the movie, and I enjoy the movie on its own terms, and any issues I have with the movie are also about the movie. I'm not going to let one sick person who did a really horrible thing color that. I'm able to separate the two. I think that what that kid did was horrible, and he is now paying the price for, as well he should. But I'm able to separate it from the movie. Jamie?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, it's a terrible thing, and I hate seeing or reading or hearing about anything that ever happens like that. It's one of those things where it was even in the back of my mind sitting in the theater watching it. You know, I think I saw that one in the theater 5 or 6 times, and each time after that opening night premiere, all I could think to myself was, you know, somebody was doing this exact thing I'm doing now, and somebody cut their life short because of that. And that's awful, in the worst possible way awful. But I don't watch the movie now and have that in my mind, but I do distinctly recall sitting in that theater watching it probably like the week after that happened and thinking that at one point. I mean, tough emotional situation, but I don't have any tainted thoughts or colorizations of the movie based on that, watching it now.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, certainly that weekend it was on all of our minds, and we couldn't help but think about it. But yeah, I don't watch the movie now and get brought back to that place. I'm able to just watch the movie.
I specifically recall at one point in the film, I don't even remember what point of the film it was, but I recall looking over at the emergency exit that's down by the screen in my theater. You know, the little red light, exit sign that's there.
Yeah.
And thinking to myself, what if somebody came through that door right now? And all I could think to myself at that point, like I have that inner conflict in my mind, is this is what that son of a bitch wants you to have, is that fear and that wonder and that what if scenario going through your head. And that was kind of the moment where I made up my mind I was not going to let that happen to me. So yeah. Right. I mean, it was I don't want to say that my issues or anybody else's issues that were, halfway across the country or whatever were as bad as what happened to the people that actually were in Aurora, Colorado. But emotionally, I think it affected a lot of us at the time, certainly. Definitely.
But yeah, it would be, I would hope that Christian Bale can someday separate it. Anyway, moving on. Thank you, Eric. Next message here is from Josh Moore. It says, "Hey, Andy, I thought, though I am still not caught up yet, I wanted to write you again and let you know I just listened to episode 62. Josh is living in the past, like episodes I've forgotten about. It says, "I loved it. It was the episode where you celebrated Tim Drake. Out of the 4 main Robins, he was the one that I liked the least. It's not that I didn't like him. I love all Robins. He was just the one that I had the least exposure to. When I started getting into comics, Damian was just starting as Robin, so to me, he is my Robin. I've always loved Nightwing since I was a little kid, and Red Hood interested me since watching the excellent movie Under the Red Hood, not to mention the excellent run he's had in Rebirth. I'd always heard people say how Tim Drake is the best, but I never gave it much thought. But after listening to your episode and hearing all your guys' passion for the character, it inspired me to start reading up on Tim Drake. I'm starting with A Death in the Family trade to read both that story and A Lonely Place of Dying. Then I'm moving on to the first 4 Robin trades and Young Justice. That's all I've gotten to so far, but I plan on reading the big Batman events featuring him and the rest of his Robin trades. And Teen Titans by Jeff Johns. I'm excited to go down this Tim Drake adventure and finally see why everyone loves him so much. Thanks for inspiring me to do this, and I can't wait to tell you what I think. Sorry for the long message, Josh." Josh, thank you for the long message, and I'm just glad that we inspired you to learn more about Tim Drake, because Tim Drake is the best Robin.
I really think Drake is a fantastic Robin. I mean, when I started, really getting serious into reading comics, Todd was the Robin. And although I think he's become an amazing character since those days, he was a shit Robin, and I couldn't stand him. And yes, I am one of the people that caused him to die, and I'm proud to say it to this day.
Did you call?
I did.
That's awesome.
So anyway,
I was too young to call, but yeah, that's awesome.
It was one of those things. There weren't a lot of people that cared a lot for him, which is why Robin got into the predicament he did, and why people. I mean, it was a pretty close call vote, but at any rate, there were a lot of people that weren't pleased with Jason Todd as Robin back then. So, living through the era as it occurred, losing Jason Todd and seeing Batman's reaction to that, but then seeing a really good, really well-conceived character like Tim Drake come around, that was a huge boost for the character of Robin for a lot of us. And I still wasn't like an enormous Robin fan. That's more of a recent development. I preferred Batman without Robin at that time, because back then I was young and stupid, and what do I know?
I've been able to convert Jamie to Aquaman and to Robin. I'm so proud.
You're a terrible influence on me.
Next up, Blue Devil.
Anyway, the point being is that I have a great appreciation for Drake because he was so much better than Todd was as a companion to Bruce or a companion to Batman, that as far as in continuity, Robin's Drake would be my favorite. As far as my favorite Robin of all time, well, that's still Carrie Kelly. I'm sorry.
That's all right. You're doing the right thing by reading A Lonely Place of Dying. And then, the Robin trades are excellent, because in those you get the Robin miniseries, which are all great, that are all Tim Drake Robin. And then when you get to it, I would also read the James Tynion run on Detective, because James Tynion also loves Tim Drake. And when you read his run on Detective, you can tell how much he loves Tim Drake.
First of all, you should read everything that James Tynion writes, but that's...
But James Tynion plus Tim Drake equals comic book magic. All right, next message here is from Joe Kingsley. It says, "Hey, Andy, Jamie, but hopefully not Brendan." That's weird, but I like it. I hope all is well. I messaged you last year with my concerns that we were actually excited for an Aquaman film. The madness. However, I accept that the movie was good. Not amazing, but better than I anticipated. But why has nobody mentioned the best cameo in the film? Stingray playing on the television in the lighthouse. Does nobody know what this is? Also, madness. Seeing this in the film made it an automatic thumbs up. Anyway, thanks for the chance to express myself. Joe. Joe, thanks for the message. Is Stingray like the old TV
it's like the
show?
It's apparently like Thunderbirds with submarines.
Okay, I didn't know that that's what that was from. I mean, it just looked like a old,
I thought it was
submarine movie.
I didn't realize that it was its own thing.
But that's cool. It is a good cameo. So good. Well, I'm glad that the movie mostly won you over.
It would have been better if it was Team America World Police, actually. But,
Well, there's always a sequel. All right, next message from Kyle Belbach. It says, "Hey, Andy and Jamie, I know you're both big fans of Travis Knight, or at least we're big fans of Kubo and the Two Strings. He's now moved on to live action with Bumblebee. Have you guys seen it? It may not be a financial success, but it was met with critical acclaim. He seems to have a great grasp on how to tell character-driven stories, and now that he's shown that he can handle a big budget, do you think he would be a fit to direct a future DC movie? And if so, which one would you want him to tackle?" Kyle Belbach. Kyle, thank you for the message. And Kubo and the Two Strings is a freaking masterpiece. And so, yeah, I'm a fan of Travis Knight. You're right. I still have not seen Bumblebee. Jamie?
Nope.
I will see it. I want to see it. I've heard it's good. And it just got lost in the shuffle over the holidays. But I look forward to seeing it. And if it's as good as I have heard, then I'm all for it. I root for Travis, and so yes, I would love to see him join the DC family and take on a DC movie. As far as what he should do, I don't know, Jamie. What do you think before I think about what Travis should direct?
Man, I don't even know. I guess whatever one he wants to make. I mean, I know that's a cheap cop-out answer, but it's hard for me to line up his taste with something because I can't think of anything in the DCEU that quite lines up with Kubo. And I haven't seen Bumblebee, so I can't comment on that. So I don't know a proper answer to give here.
Yeah, especially because most of the ones that are on the radar already have a director, quote unquote, attached or sort of attached. So it is harder to give him one. If there was a Teen Titans movie, I would give Travis Knight that. I could see that working.
He obviously has something along the lines of, I mean, I imagine Bumblebee has some heart to it. I know Kubo Bloody Whale had some heart to it, to spare, no less. So probably not anything like a Deathstroke or something like that, but maybe like Nightwing or something like that, where you need a character with a really strong, I don't want to say bleeding heart, but I guess for lack of something better to call it, somebody with a strong emotional presence. I could see that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, except technically Chris McKay is still attached to
Well,
that.
I mean, I'm not saying.
But if Chris McKay were not to, then yes, Travis Knight for a Nightwing.
I mean, I
Sure.
can't quite place it, but a character that is emotionally strong, has a lot of heart to them, a caring character along those lines. I feel like a director like him probably would do well with that sort of a character versus somebody like, say, a Deathstroke or any of the villain characters or a Batman or anything like that. Maybe even
how about a Robin movie starring Tim Drake?
Right, Superman. I mean, who has more heart and character than Superman?
Oh, there you go. Duh. Cool. Yeah, I would love to see it happen. All right, next message here is from Henry Van Dyke. It says, hey, Andy, Jamie, and anybody else. My name is Henry. I'm probably one of your younger listeners. I'm 13. I'm emailing you about my idea for the 200th episode. My idea is what your favorite things that have to do with Batman, like your favorite movies, comics, TV shows, and anything else that has to do with Batman. Your podcast is awesome. Here are some pictures of my collection, Henry. Henry, thank you. Gosh, we're a PG-13 show, so you just made it. Whew.
Wait a second. We're PG-13, so I can get one F-bomb an episode now? Is that what you're telling me?
No. Okay. You can do better. I believe in you. There's something there, Henry. There's something there. I like your idea. It's sort of kind of in the same neighborhood of something I was thinking of, so let me see what I can do. But thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for sharing some of your Batman collection. It's super fun.
Yeah, I can't see the picture, so just send your collection to me, and I'll look at it and probably send it back to you. Maybe.
There you go.
Possibly.
Please mail to Jamie Drewley, 123 Cornfield. All right. And then one last message here from John Markham. It says, hey, Bat guys and gals, here's my pitch for your 200th episode. You've made top 10 lists before, but how about 10 Bat items on a desert island? So you're on a desert island or lost in a cave. You've got to bring top 10 Batman objects. We'll say for argument's sake, you've got a TV and tech to play video games. All objects must exist and no bundled objects.
I can do it right now, and I don't even need 10. I just need one.
So you can do a Batman Tales volume, but not a pack of movies or games. My picks are below. Okay, well, I'm going to read your picks, John, because, we'll get inspiration. Okay, 10 items. Movies: Under the Red Hood animated movie, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Returns animated movie. Books: Absolute Year One, Absolute Long Halloween, Absolute Dark Knight Returns, Legends of the Dark Knight by Marshall Rogers, Batman Tales of the Demon, Batman the Man Who Laughs, and video game Arkham Asylum. The first one is my best. John Markham. Ooh, interesting. I like the challenge, John. I'm not ready to answer that question, but it's a good idea. Jamie, what do you think?
I don't need 10 things. I just need one, and I can answer it right now.
Is it the Catwoman movie?
No.
Because I'm pretty sure it's the Catwoman movie.
No, it's Anne Hathaway.
Oh, okay. I'm hard to argue with that. Yeah, I had other things I wanted to say. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Yeah, good. That's nice. All right, that's it for the Wayne Manor mailbox. If you do have a question or message for us, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Thank you for all your suggestions, especially for the 200th episode. We got some ideas, Jamie, and now we're only a few episodes away, so we got to start making decisions.
I can't make decisions. I'm the guy that just goes around and follows you. Decisions. I'm incapable.
He's not lying, folks. He's like the mayor in Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm just an elected official. I can't make decisions by myself.
This is true.
Because I'll literally be like, hey, Jamie, any ideas? And he's like, nope, I just do what you say.
Look,
and
my real wife tells me everything I need to do in my real life, so you're my podcast wife, so you tell me everything I need to do when we're here. I mean, it's just that. That's how it works.
Okay. I do have a percolating idea, and it is somewhat in line with what Henry said. So let me see if I can flesh it out.
All right.
But the desert island thing is kind of fun too. Cool. All right. Anyway, thank you as always. We love hearing from you guys. You're awesome. We love you. Thanks for being part of the family. But that is where we're going to wrap up this episode of Holy BatCast. This is 195. So you're right. We are just 5 away from 200. And then we're shuttering the whole thing. We're calling it quits. The end. We've done what we can. Goodbye, cruel world. Or maybe we'll keep going. I don't know. But Jamie, always a pleasure. Thanks for spending Sunday morning talking about Batman and Shazam and Aquaman and Young Justice and all kinds of goodies.
It was a good time. I like this whole recording podcast in the daylight thing because, tomorrow night you're going to make me stay up until like 4 a.m. to do something else. So.
Yeah, well, you win some, you lose some.
It's true.
This week you get both. Anyway, if the folks want to keep up with you, where can they do that?
I'm on Twitter at BatRaider3960. I'm on this podcast. I'm going to be on the Real Fans podcast. Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. The Real Fans podcast.
Don't.
No?
Wait, what is it? Don't write checks that you can't cash? Something
Don't let
like
your
that.
mouth write checks that your ass can't cash. I don't know.
There you go. That's what I'm trying to say.
And please rewind the RFRM Retro Show podcast. We just did the Terminator for the 35th anniversary, which was a good time there. And yeah, we got some stuff coming up there. We're actually going to do Black History Month on Please Rewind. Don't ask. You'll see when it gets here.
Three white
Three
guys?
white guys, Black History Month. You heard.
Terrific.
That's right.
Terrific.
So, yeah, and floating around various Real Fans groups on Facebook, of course.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Give Jamie a follow. I already told you where to follow me, but more importantly, I want you to follow the show. And I do appreciate you guys downloading and listening to the show. Otherwise we'd be talking to ourselves. So please do subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate and review us on iTunes. And most importantly, as Michael Keaton's Batman says, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com and follow the show all over social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. Find Holy BatCast. Give us a little follow. And again, if you would like to become a bigger part of the family, you can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. If you've got a question for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. And you can leave us a voicemail at 323-366-9246. And I guess I should throw that out there now, like as we're getting to the 200th episode, if you have an anniversary message for us, you can email that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com, or you can just leave that message on our voicemail box at 323-366-9246, because we love getting those messages. Anyway, yeah, that'll do it. On behalf of Jamie, I've been your Bat pal, Andy, and we will see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
I'd like to purchase some of your finest beer, please.